All right, everyone, welcome back to Save Point Vids. I'm Josh. Today's episode is going to be a little different. It's just me, if you couldn't tell. Um, it's going to be kind of a shorter episode. I don't really even know how long it's going to go. Honestly, probably 10 minutes tops. It's about one very specific topic. And I can't believe we're talking about it in 2019, but here we are. It's video games and them being the scapegoat for the shootings that have taken place in El Paso and in Dayton. Um, it seems like every time there's something like this, whether it was Parkland or Sandy Hook, or even going all the way back to Columbine in 1999, people want to blame music, movies, video games, whatever it might be, just to avoid talking about the real issue. And this is not going to be a political podcast or a political episode, insofar as like the greater conversation about gun control. I'm just going to, talk about it in the context of how it relates to the stories that have come out today. But yeah, like I said, it just seems like it's just a distraction. But anyway, before we get into that, let me let you know that this is going to be on youtube.com/SavePointVids. If you like us, if you find us entertaining and informative, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, share, please. We love and support, or we, love the support that you guys have shown and given us so far. So please continue to do so. But yeah, let's jump right into it. This article, is coming from time.com. The headline reads, President Trump calls for crackdown on violent video games, mental health reforms after shootings. So again, time.com, but this is circulating across all the major outlets. So, if you slant one way or the other politically, you can find it probably on your news source of choice. But this is from Tessa Berenson, written today, August 5th, as of the time of this recording. So I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to kind of go into, my 2 cents and my feelings about it. But President Donald Trump called for a crackdown on violent video games and reforms to mental health laws, arguing that, quote, mental illness and hatred pulls the trigger, not the gun, end quote, in a speech from the White House after mass shootings in El Paso, Texas, and in Dayton, Ohio. Trump's comments come after 2 mass shootings rocked the nation over a span of less than 24 hours. 22 people were killed in a shooting at a Walmart in El Paso, Texas on Saturday, and 9 victims were fatally shot in Dayton, Ohio early on Sunday. According to authorities, the El Paso shooting suspect may have posted a manifesto online before the attack filled with anti-immigrant sentiment. Trump called the shooter a, quote, wicked man and offered condolences to the people of Mexico in his remarks. Some of the victims were Mexican nationals. Quote, in one voice, our nation must condemn racism, bigotry, and white supremacy, end quote, Trump said, with Vice President Mike Pence standing beside him in the diplomatic room at the White House. Quote, these sinister ideologies must be defeated. Hate has no place in America. Hatred warps the mind, ravages the heart, and devours the soul, end quote. But yeah, and then he kind of went into, I won't read the rest because it kind of goes from there. But yeah, basically he was just saying that, video games more or less, video games glamorize killing and murder. And I don't know if that's true or not. I guess some games might, and it's not to say that I agree with what he's saying in the entire context, because chances are if you're watching this, you've come to a video game, YouTube channel. So you're probably, on the same side of the fence as I am, as far as that's concerned. There are, I'm a lifelong gamer. I've played many, many, many violent video games and watched many violent movies and TV shows, and I've never once thought about loading a gun and, walking into a crowded place or any place and, firing on someone, and there are millions, if not billions of people just like me who consume violent content and media and have no, desire to recreate or, do any of that stuff. So the fact that they're, again, like I said, right at the top, the fact that these politicians, Trump and others, are using violent video games as a scapegoat is just a way to, deflect from the real issue. And it's, it's not worth getting upset about, in my opinion. Like I said, the real issue is, I believe, a lot to do with mental health. It's access to assault rifles and assault, weapons. Again, this goes back to the early 90s when Mortal Kombat came out. And they had that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll try to find a clip of it and link it in the description below. But the hearings in Congress over Mortal Kombat, when that first released, that's why the ESRB was created. It's been a scapegoat since day one. And every time something like this happens, that's the first thing they jump to is, video games. And again, rap music, rock music, the movies we watch, and it's full of shit. They're full of shit, and that's just the way it is. There are violent video games and violent media consumed all over the world, and whether they want to directly admit it, the numbers speak for themselves. Is that shootings like this on the scale that we see, and at the frequency that we see, this is an epidemic that is only found here in the United States. Full stop. End of story. I don't care what other, what you try to say about, the Second Amendment or, this or that, and again, not leaning politically one way or the other necessarily in this episode, but the numbers speak for themselves in that this issue is not found anywhere else in the world on this scale at this frequency. And I've been seeing on Twitter and in the Twitter sphere, gamers want to rally together and, fight this. And, I've seen people quote tweeting the president and, saying how, wrong he is and how stupid he sounds. And they're not wrong, but he's trolling all of us. And that's the thing. He is trolling the American people in the video game industry in particular in this case. And the best way, in my opinion, to deal with a troll is just to not give it any oxygen. Don't let it breathe. Ignore him. He wants you to get a rise out of this because that'll take away from the real issue, which is, again, the larger debate about gun control, about access to automatic weapons. He's just using this to divert your attention away from the real issues. So my opinion, don't engage. Just let it go. They're not coming for your games. They're not going to ban violent video games. They're not going to ban, mature rated video games. They're not going to take Call of Duty off the shelves. We're protected by the First Amendment. They're not going anywhere. So, this is not the hill worth dying on. I promise. I really, really promise that everything as far as how it relates to video games is going to be completely okay. He is doing this, and other Republicans are doing this to deflect from the real issues. It is not worth getting all worked up over. I get it. We're a passionate fan base. We love our art forms. We love our video games. I as much as anyone else, but this is not the fight that we need to take on. It's just not. It's not worth it. He's trolling us. The best way to deal with a troll is just to ignore it, and he'll get bored and go on to something else, and he'll blame something else. But when you give it oxygen and it gets picked up by the mainstream media, and it becomes like this cyclone and this, black hole that we're all sucked into, that's when, it validates what he's saying, because we want to fight for what's right. And so we try to defend ourselves, but we become, it almost looks like we become defensive because and that's all the validation he needs, because he's like, he's in his mind, he's thinking, well, it must be true because they're getting so worked up and hot and bothered over it that it has to be true. And it's just not the case. Again, it's not worth fighting. This is not the fight. Don't let him distract you. Don't let the other politicians who are using violent video games distract you from the real issue. This is not it. And again, the whole issue about gun control, that's a whole different topic, and I'm not getting into that. But yeah, this is not it. I'm telling you, it's just not, so the next time you get on Twitter and you see a politician tweet about something that, blaming video games or blaming movies or music or comic books or whatever the hell it is, just don't engage. And I know it seems like we're fighting a losing battle, and, it's still going to get, tens of thousands of likes and retweets anyway, but, just don't engage and pass the message along, because I promise you it'll be okay. They're not coming for your games. There's no reason to, rally the industry to take this head on. You just ignore it, and and it'll go away. Like, and what I mean by go away is him blaming the gaming industry. It's just, it is what it is, because we know it's not true. We don't need to argue with him to know it's not true. He just wants to deflect from the real issues. And this is his way of doing it. Again, it's the same thing. I know I'm talking in circles, but it's been the same thing for decades now, literally decades. And even before video games, it was rock music back in the 50s and 60s. It goes back so far that, but just don't let it distract you from the real issue. Go out, I'll get more political, but, go out and vote. If you don't like what they're saying, if you don't like the policies in place, whether you're on the left side or the right side of the aisle or somewhere in between, use your voice to, make a difference, go out and vote, rally others to vote, and anyway, so I'm getting off topic, but yeah, like I said, as it relates to games, they're deflecting because they know that, the more ridiculous the more ridiculous things that they say, the more ridiculous that they are, it means that, the walls are closing in around them. And so they're saying the most outlandish possible shit to see what sticks to the wall and what they can, grasp and hang on to, because there is no defense, for this, 29, I think 29 people are dead. There's no defense. There's no, and so they have to say some stupid shit just to say something, because they can't say nothing, So, but anyway, that's all I've got. Like I said, this is kind of a short one-off. But yeah, don't let it get to you. It's not worth getting all riled up on. They were yelling on Twitter at politicians, and it's just not worth it. It's really not. Just don't engage them. You're not being cowardly. You're not being, you're not scared. You're being the bigger person. You're taking the high road, which in today's political climate, we could all learn to take the high road a little bit more often. We can all learn to, be the bigger person, now more than ever, it seems like. So yeah, don't engage, mute the conversation, just let it go. It's not worth it. But anyway, guys, that's all I've got. Let me know what you think. Tweet at me. I'm always open to having a civil conversation about it. If you come in and start, personally insulting. You can have passion about, your point of view, but if you come in and just start personally attacking or insulting with no real, expectation of a civil conversation, I'm not going to engage you. I'll probably mute you or outright block you. I have no issues in saying that. But if you do want to have an actual discussion, leave a comment below, tweet at me at twitter.com/SavePointJosh. And again, tell a friend. I would love for this to grow. It's all about positivity. And, like I said, it seems hopeless sometimes, but in this day and age where tensions seem to be at an all-time high every single day, spread the positivity, spread the love. At the end of the day, again, as it relates to video games, it's just video games. It's a hobby we're all passionate about. It's a hobby that, I love and will continue to love. But at the end of the day, again, it's just video games. They're toys, they really are in the grand scheme of things. But anyway, that's all I've got. Everybody stay safe until next time, okay?